Ever since Christian Horner's shocking firing, Red Bull Racing hasn't been the same. Behind the scenes, seismic shifts are shaking the very foundation of the energy drink empire's F1 dominance. And now, the latest twist is something no one saw coming. Red Bull may be forced to part ways with its sister team, Racing Bulls, before the 2026 season even begins. Whispers from the paddock suggest the FIA is preparing a bold regulatory move, a one-team per ownership rule that would upend the current team structures across the grid. With the deadline rumoured to hit at the end of 2025, Red Bull could be left with no choice but to sell off its beloved junior team, a squad that once carried the DNA of Minardi, AlphaTauri, and now Racing Bulls. The clock is ticking and the pressure is mounting. Will Red Bull bow to FIA's demands, or is there a surprise twist still to come in this ownership saga? While Red Bull has yet to make any public comment, insiders are already calling this the most significant challenge to their dual-team strategy since the inception of Toro Rosso in 2006. What began as a clever way to nurture young talent and test experimental upgrades may now be deemed a conflict of interest under the FIA's new vision for a more independent and competitive Formula One. The goal: level the playing field, eliminate backdoor data sharing, and give all teams a fair shot under the 2026 regulations. A reset not just in technology, but in governance too. And the timing couldn't be worse for Red Bull, with internal power struggles brewing since Horner's exit and Max Verstappen's future still in question. The company is navigating its most unstable period in over a decade. Racing Bulls has just begun finding its footing again, with a rebrand, a technical alliance with the main team, and a serious push up the midfield. Selling now would mean abandoning a valuable asset just as it's starting to show promise, and possibly handing it over to a rival with ambitions to disrupt the status quo. Last year, Red Bull's sister team raised more eyebrows than applause when it rebranded into the clunky, corporate-heavy name Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. While the move was met with skepticism across the paddock, CEO Peter Bayer promised a course correction. Yet, as the 2025 FIA entry list confirms, the name still lingers, although the official constructor title has shifted to Racing Bulls Honda RBPT. It's a confusing identity for a team caught between its Red Bull heritage and a murky future, standing at the crossroads of legacy and reinvention. This is more than a branding issue. It's a reflection of how far Formula One has drifted from its gritty, garage-based roots. The sport has morphed into a billion-dollar battlefield, where global giants clash with teams backed by massive conglomerates, and even the smallest outfit demands an army of over 1,000 personnel. When Red Bull first bought the Faenza-based team in 2005, F1 was in survival mode. The financial crash had just driven Toyota, BMW, and Honda out of the sport. Back then, the idea of one company fielding two cars on the grid didn't stir much controversy. It was a lifeline, but in today's hyper-commercialized era, that narrative no longer holds. Zak Brown has recently rekindled a simmering debate, claiming Red Bull's dual ownership gives it an unfair political edge within the sport's ever-complicated governance. And he might not be wrong. Over the past year, Racing Bulls has undergone a quiet transformation. A significant portion of its operations has been relocated to Red Bull's Milton Keynes campus, slowly erasing any real distinction between the junior and senior teams. Once proudly independent under the Toro Rosso name, the Faenza squad had moments of real autonomy, designing cars in-house and occasionally outperforming expectations, most notably with a young Sebastian Vettel in 2008. But today, the Racing Bulls have become something else entirely, a cost-saving arm of Red Bull Racing, sourcing key components from their championship-winning counterpart to reduce R&D overhead and fast-track development. In theory, it's clever. In practice, it blurs the lines between competition and coordination. And now, with the FIA's looming proposal to enforce a strict one-ownership, one-team policy, that entire system is under threat. If passed, it would leave Red Bull with a difficult decision: either sell the Racing Bulls to comply, or risk regulatory warfare that could damage their standing in the sport. FIA intends to implement the rule by the end of 2025, just before the 2026 technical overhaul kicks in. The timing is no coincidence. This isn't just a shot across Red Bull's bow. It's part of a broader effort by the FIA to reset the playing playing field before a new generation of power units, sustainability rules, and financial frameworks redefine Formula One from the ground up. And while Red Bull may be reluctant to relinquish control, it's clear the Racing Bulls, now more a business extension than a standalone team, are the sacrificial pawn in a much larger game. But Red Bull isn't the only team navigating this blurred line between independence and alliance. Take Haas, for example. The American outfit has long leaned heavily on Ferrari and chassis partner Dallara for every component allowed under the sporting regulations, earning them the less than flattering reputation of a kit car team. While technically within the rules, it's reignited questions about what it truly means to be a constructor in modern Formula One. That same conversation now surrounds Racing Bulls. Peter Bayer, CEO of the sister outfit, recently hailed the relocation of major operations from Faenza to Red Bull's Milton Keynes campus as a game changer. Nestled in the heart of Britain's motorsport valley, the move allows them to tap directly into a talent pool of elite engineers and specialists. From Bayer's perspective, it's a strategic masterstroke, but to others, it's a red flag. McLaren CEO Zak Brown has emerged as the most vocal critic of multi-team ownership, stating plainly that the practice should come to an end, and soon. He believes the next Concord Agreement must address this grey area, arguing that while teams like Red Bull and Racing Bulls are playing within the current rulebook, the rulebook itself is outdated. They're absolutely playing by the rules, Brown admitted to Sky Sports in 2025. My issue isn't with Red Bull, it's with the rules. And he's right about one thing. Red Bull's use of the system is not a breach, it's strategy. As Brown put it, if you owned two teams and the rules allowed it, you'd do the same. And Helmut Marko has said as much. He's going to make the most of every opportunity. Still, Brown's critique underscores a deeper unease among rival teams who feel disadvantaged by these A-B partnerships. In a sport where financial parity is supposedly enforced through the cost cap, he argues that shared resources create invisible advantages that skew the playing field. If the spirit of the cap is equality, he explained, then these arrangements fundamentally compromise that. His warning is sharp. The whole A-B team dynamic disrupts the balance. It's time for the FIA to act, not out of spite, but to protect the integrity of the sport. Peter Bayer, however, is unfazed. With his previous tenure at the FIA, Bayer is no stranger to the tangled web of collaborations that exist up and down the pit lane. In his eyes, Racing Bulls are far less enmeshed with Red Bull Racing than other partnerships on the grid. Honestly, the calls for change don't bother me, Bayer told Planet F1. Having been at the FIA, I've seen how deeply connected some teams are. Ferrari and Haas, for instance, are much tighter in collaboration than we are with Red Bull Racing. He even joked about 2024 rookie Ollie Behrman's trackside comment, where the young Brit compared his Ferrari and Haas experiences by saying the only real difference was the paint job. But Bayer isn't worried. He knows that in 2026, teams will still be allowed to purchase certain listed components, and that gearbox sharing isn't what separates the champions from the midfield. It's not the gearbox that wins races, he quipped, it's everything else. Yet despite Bayer's confidence, the future of multi-team ownership in F1 is far from guaranteed. The current Concord Agreement is about to shift, and the sport is changing rapidly, and pressure is building. If the paddock climate continues to shift, the next round of negotiations could usher in a radical restructuring of how teams are owned, operated, and governed. Until then, Red Bull continues to enjoy the fruits of its dual-team approach. And to be fair, the stability they've brought to the grid over the past 2 decades can't be overlooked. When manufacturers like Toyota and Honda made abrupt exits, and the post-2010 newcomers collapsed under their own weight, it was Red Bull's financial muscle and operational commitment that helped F1 stay afloat. Their role in shaping today's competitive landscape is undeniable. Should the FIA really force Red Bull to sell Racing Bulls, or is this just politics disguised as regulation? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, goodbye for now.